Looking back, I have so many memories of my childhood. Many things had an impact that still linger with me. And I learned a lot of lessons back then. Still learning them today, actually. But some of those lessons came from parents, mentors, teachers, and coaches. Yet many came from what I learned in church, and whether it was Bible study or prayer meetings or Sunday school, it still came from the church world. I was taught compassion and empathy as a child, and I learned about helping those in need when my parents clothed a poor family that had holes in their socks and no winter boots in the middle of a Chicago snowstorm. I learned about caring for the least among us when my husband gave my brand new winter coat to a shivering homeless woman who was walking through a snowy open field on a freezing cold day. And I remember she was wearing shorts and a tank top. He looked at me in the car and said, "Lee, give me your coat." And I gave him my coat, and he walked out into that cold field and handed that homeless woman my coat. I found compassion for a single mom with 4 kids who was evicted from her home with no place to lay her babies' heads. These are those real memories of lifting up the fallen and helping others in need. It's a big part of what I believe shaped me. My religious background is a small part of the foundation that's guided my life, and it has helped me in a 35-year marriage that wasn't always biscuits and gravy, by the way. And it also helped me with parenting and grandparenting. And I did okay. The Bible guided my service into the community. But that's not where it stopped. It created my own form of ministry. And maybe it began in the church, but it grew over the years among neighbors and friends, helping the elderly, the homeless, and the hungry. Many times, I felt more Jesus at food banks, shelters, nursing homes, and VA hospitals than I did in a church building. And I think it's what fuels my passion now, because people are still hurting, and they need us to step up. Some Bible verses stayed with me over the years, like Jesus in the book of Matthew. It says to love thy neighbor as thyself. I want you to think about that for a second. Love them like you love yourself. And in Mark, it goes on to refer to it as one of God's highest commandments. He's not asking, folks, that's a commandment. And I'm not here to preach because that's not why I came. But I do want to talk to you about how we apply our values to service in public life and how we live by a moral code that we are taught and expected to live by. I can see the best and the worst in Alabama. It's a state that is filled with kind people who would like to lift us up to a higher level and put in policy what many good Christians profess to believe. There are those who care more about our future than living in our past. And there are also deeply religious people who really care about children after they're born, because they do matter. And there are policies we do need to fix, but very few of them policies are more important than everybody having access to health care and decent schools and a fair shot at the American dream. So today I want to share with you just a few things that bother me. First of all, we are one of a handful of states that does not provide basic health care to those living in poverty. And the Bible mentions the poor over 2,000 times, yet here we are living in a state of abundance where wealth is everywhere. Our legislators refuse to spend the federal funding Uncle Sam has provided to pay 90% of the bill to expand that Medicaid. And instead, our governor has asked if the funds can be used for more prisons. Expansion of that Medicaid would provide health care to 300,000 people who don't have it and provide a lifeline to the rural hospitals on the edge of bankruptcy. Everywhere that expanding Medicaid has been implemented across this country, early death and maternal mortality has gone down, while access to doctors and mental health services has gone up everywhere, but not here. Not in Alabama. Why? We'll never know how many died young or will never make it to adulthood because they lacked access to a doctor or a routine checkup. But what we do know is this. Not one state spends less on health care than Alabama. And we're near the bottom in life expectancy. We're one of the worst in infant mortality, and we have been this way for decades. We're also among the worst in the country in the performance and the funding of our public schools. But you knew that one already. And you all probably already know that our governor said this, and I'm going to quote her. "It's unfortunate, but Alabama is at the bottom of just about every educational ranking you can find." And according to the U.S. News and World Report, we are ranked dead last. We are next to last on math scores. Less than half of the school students in grades 3 through 8 are even skilled in reading and math. Fewer than 40% of the 5th and 7th graders are even proficient in science. And we rank near the bottom of the country in getting high school graduates ready for college. 3 out of 10 of them must take remedial classes if they even go to college. And by almost any imaginable measure, we are at or near the bottom of everything that matters to our future. The political class might call that a claim to fame, but I think they should hang their head in shame, because I know I do. There's little wonder of why we have one of the lowest household incomes in this country. Too many are coming out of our schools who don't know how to get a job or keep one, if they can even get one. Alabama is one of 3 states that charge full sales tax on bread, food, and the basic necessities of life. And it's not just 1 or 3 or 5%. In many counties across this state, people pay up to 11% sales tax on baby food, milk for their children, and bread for their school lunches. We charge higher taxes on baby formula than we do on feed for a herd of goats. And it is so hard for me to wrap my head around that proclamation that we love children when we pay more taxes for baby food than animal food. Alabama has an income tax, and our legislators claim that it's progressive, but it's actually the most regressive income tax in this country. If you earn $3,000, you owe income tax in Alabama. And if you're a single mother earning $9, working 1 hour a day, your tax rate is the same as a millionaire cashing their dividend check. Low-income families pay twice the share of their income than top earners do. No state, let me say that again, no state punishes their poor more than Alabama, not even Mississippi. Every poor person actually in Alabama wakes up every single day with the heel of black boot on their face. Healthcare, education, and taxes are just 3 indictments of our political class. There are still communities and counties living in the Stone Ages when it comes to basic internet and broadband. Legislators just gave themselves a 4% raise for part-time work, and apparently that's their reward for governing a state with the worst schools and poorest healthcare, one of the nation's highest baby death rates, a violent crime rate that is worse than New York, and having one of the 10 most dangerous cities in America. Look, I am not new to the cause of public service. On top of all of the duties that come with a career, marriage, and motherhood, I served on the council for the town of Lakeview, served on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm an active member of many impactful programs advocating for organizations. I've operated in the trenches of managing countless local and statewide campaigns, and for decades, I have served as a volunteer for causes close to my heart. Criminal justice reform, voting and women's rights, ending domestic violence, fair and livable wages, and access to affordable health care. I've lived a good life, and I have been married to my children's father for 35 years. So I've been there and I've done all of that, but today this is not about me, it's about you. And that incumbent that has been underserving our district for over 2 decades. That's why I'm here. To answer the calling to do something, anything, to bring attention to the real Alabama. And that's the struggles of rural Alabama. Let me share a few things about our senator. Gerald Allen and I are 2 very different people. The facts and the figures I just shared about the pathetic condition of our state, like healthcare, education, poverty, and the heavy tax burden that we place on the least among us, all of this is his record, and he needs to own it. In the 24 years in office, he has served in both chambers, the House and the Senate, and almost every committee in Montgomery, and he cannot point to a single bill that he sponsored that has made a difference in the way we live, the health care we receive, or the quality of education we offer our kids. Not a single bill. Instead, he's known for his efforts to ban library books written by people he doesn't like, his anxiety about foreign agents slipping Sharia law into our Constitution, and his crusades to exempt Alabama from federal laws that he doesn't approve of. His agenda does not lift people up. It's the wailing bellow of a man who's stuck in the past, terrified of the future. So let me ask you something. Where's all this faith that we speak about? You know, the Christian values our senator professes to live by? Folks, there's an abundance of future for us. It's already there. We just have to have the guts to want it, believe that we deserve it, and then go after it, because we must know our own worth, and we must believe in the moral code that we have inside us. John says that we're to love in deed and by truth. That's an action word, not lip service. And in the book of Luke, it says, to whom much is given, much will be required. Leaders have been given much, by the way, so let me just say that one more time so you in the back can hear me. To whom much is given, much will be required. And that's why we're here today. Because we've been given this opportunity in this moment right here, right now, to love in deed and by truth. Some of us living in Alabama have been blessed with good health and abundance and prosperity. But many have not. So I say to you that it's time we do more than just pray. My name is Lisa Ward. I am running for State Senate District 21, and I want to serve you.